I think it was Paul Ryan that said it, right? It's not that we have a revenue problem. It's the spending problem. And when we just spend.
About the train.
Yeah, what about
Well,
The
look,
train.
I mean, look, and I've said this before, you know, there are two things that I would always ask as an executive. One, is it constitutional? I mean, when an issue comes in through that door, one, is it constitutional, and two, can we afford it? You know, now we can sit around and debate the constitutionality of X, you know, but right now, I think over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the answer is no, we can't afford it. We cannot afford it. Are there programs that are out there that are in proposed, you know, that will be proposed, that are probably good programs? Absolutely. But can we afford many of them right now? No, we can't. We cannot afford them. So yeah, the train for me is that's about a 5-second. No sir, can't do it.
What about
one of the things I've talked about it, you know, that I enjoy is, and this is something that I know is is 10th Amendment. You know, certainly the healthcare bill. You know, a lot of individuals, once that healthcare bill came out, started looking at their Constitution again, started reading what are they talking about, you know, with the 10th Amendment. It was a great thing, because I think a lot of people started getting educated and actually started to determine what is constitutional, what is not constitutional. And I think a lot of people were probably surprised at what we've been paying for ad infinitum through our tax dollars that aren't constitutional entities. I think that the lieutenant governor, or I think that there is the ability for an individual, and since the lieutenant governor again has that nebulous job, you know, I think that there are many states right now that have started. You know, you look at some of the bills, the 10th Amendment bills that are going on and through some of the states. You know, some states, Oklahoma, I think it is, have actually put like 1 or 2 nullification bills on the floor. I mean, that's huge. I mean, these are huge things. You know, I think that there is a great potential to organize from, and not just, you know, and let's look at the reality of politics. You know, a lot of it is a show, right? It's marketing, it's a show, wag the dog. I think there's a great opportunity for governors, for lieutenant governors, if possible, and for attorneys general to get together and to actually force this issue. And we've tried it. I mean, there have been lots of, you know, all the time people bringing this in front of a court. But I think it's high time that we actually had one of those very, you know, those old-fashioned, you see in the black and white, those a very visible Supreme Court, you know, case. I think that you know, when it's done in onesies or twosies, it doesn't really have the force that I think an organized group could do, and that's a bipartisan issue. You know, really, you know, I guarantee if I grabbed a Democratic governor and I said, hey, don't ask me who I am, but if I said, hey, would you like to have stronger states' powers, you know, invariably they'd probably say, well, I would hope that they would say yes, but who knows? I think, you know, you look at the organizations, you know, the RGA, the Republican Governors Association, or just the Governors Association. You know, the Lieutenant Governor has an association. The Attorney General has an association nationally. I think that would be an interesting thing to do, is to try to organize a group of lieutenant governors and governors and actually see how far we could take this to push something against the Supreme Court for our 10th Amendment rights. You know, and this health bill, I think, is going to be one of the key things that occurs. But so that's one of the things that I've discussed about too, is lieutenant governor. But that, I think, is kind of like a broad project that gets accomplished, or that tries to get accomplished.
Another, along with the 10th Amendment, I think one of the amendments that or 2 other amendments that I think are probably near and dear to your heart, is they are near and dear to ours, are the 1st and 2nd. And we're seeing those increasingly threatened as well.
Sure.
What are your ideas for protecting the 1st and 2nd amendments here in Wisconsin?
Well, the First Amendment, that's yeah, we look at least campaign. You know, we could probably take that down about 15 different roads. You know, campaign finance, what's coming out of the some of the University of Wisconsin, some of University of Wisconsin, and then some of the, many of the schools, secondary schools that we have now. I think that's an issue. So while I answer the Second Amendment one, think of a more pointed, laser-like attack question on the first, and I'll answer it. Yeah, the Second Amendment right, the statistics are there. I mean, states that do have the right to carry, generally the crime rate is much lower. It lowers. I mean, Wisconsin does it. We're wrong on all accounts there. So yes, I fully support concealed carry. I fully support, unfortunately it was, 2009? When was the bill that was, had carried the Castle Doctrine? 2007, 2009? One of them. I believe that this should be a state that does allow, the Castle Doctrine type defense. You know what I'm talking about? Castle Doctrine is the, Tully, Rome. I mean, it's that the most sacred thing is your home. Where basically you are not held liable when somebody breaks into your home and you use lethal force.
Plug them.
Which I think we should all have the right to do. Many states have laws that are the Castle Doctrine. Wisconsin does not. Yes.
Don't feel a need to answer this, but I was just curious if you want to talk a little bit about when your experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, get away from politics, and if you don't
He
feel
wants to hear some
comfortable.
war stories, I think.
I mean, perspectives, whatever.
Sure.
whatever.
Well, understand that all of my time was in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
So I went in 2002 after 9/11, and then my last trip was 2008. So I got to see Afghanistan from the very beginning. When we were still in the first phases of the war to where we are now. And it's and I'm going to tie it back to politics and why I'm here, and that it was at the very beginning of the war, as certainly as some of the elite, the small units, we had a very small pipeline of decision making. We didn't have to push things up through 7 layers of a bureaucracy to get a decision. And we were able to do that because there was a trust that, there's centralized and decentralized operations, right? You can, generally if you don't really trust your people and you want to maintain as much control as possible, you have a very centralized role and you're just micromanaging everything. Decentralized says, I'm going to give you here's the goal that I want you to reach in 60 days and just let me know how it's going and you're off. Slowly as the war effort and more troops got on the ground, it just, Bagram Air Base and Kandahar Air Base just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now they're humongous. And to the point where, at Bagram Air Base you've got Dairy Queen and Burger King and Subway and I'm totally serious, Pizza Hut.
Wow.
We we called it Fort Bragg West, but it just shows you what has occurred over a period of time when you don't have a clear and concise vision, and to be blunt, we really, for many years we just didn't have that in Afghanistan. What are we trying to accomplish in my 9 months, 10 months, or 11 months, or 12 months? And then actually had some measurables assigned to that where I could gauge myself. And I think in that environment, when you don't have that vision, then people do tend to become very risk averse. And you start seeing that within the commanders above. So I think that right now you've just got this, incredible organization, this humongous piece there, and they are trying to do things I think that they're just simply not trained for. I'm a believer in sort of, I guess, the PAL doctrine. Go in with as big a force as you need and as violently as possible, and then get out. But now we've gotten into a role where we're trying to develop, a nation that's got 12 major tribes and countless sub-tribes that are divided by incredible terrain, 10,000, 8, 10, 12,000 foot mountains and valleys, and you're trying to create all that into this one unified nation. Under a Jeffersonian democracy, it's just not going to work, in my humble opinion. So, I think that it's gonna take a lot, it's gonna take a few years for us to actually get that place going, but I think we also need to redefine what success is going to be. And maybe stop trying to create and invent a new wheel. You know, they've got a system of government in place, and we just kinda have to, I think, adapt and almost build that up and let, but
Let them have
I'm running for lieutenant governor, not
No,
president of the United States.